Hello and welcome to another episode of Fake News Show. You know how we do it on this show? This is where we talk about all you need to know about fake news. What is fake news though? Where it come from? How did it affect me and you? How did today identify them? Avoid fake news. How to report it and lots more. Stay with us. We have lots of fun on this episode for you. This particular episode of Fake News, we are going to be looking at something very important. You say what? How does fake news affect, or misinformation, how does it affect reproductive health? Reproductive health, man and woman things. You see, having children is a big deal in Africa because we know the joke with children, twins or triplets, so we like children in African culture. Now, it's understandable when maybe there's pressure on couple. Small time now, person marry, baby never come and say, how far? Now don't go check up. Wait till maybe now your wife, maybe the husband. When there's delay in production, we are always stressing couples in Africa. Now, some couples maybe they've been trying for a particular child, maybe now a girl picking the one born and a boy picking the one that they try, the quick walk, pressure is there. So Africa will like children. That's what we're going to be talking about. How does fake news or misinformation, how does it affect reproductive health? That's why it's important. Fasten your seatbelt on this episode. Another roller coaster, better information on fake news on this episode. Don't go anywhere. Join us after this break. See, the widespread and circulation of fake news on health is potentially dangerous. Or quite dangerous. And it's because, medical experts, they need information. They rely on information. Patients rely on information to identify and treat disease. Now, according to very strong research, infertility affects an estimated 15% of couples around the world. That's around 48.5%, 48.5 million couples. Now, Matt, young you as they go in, you say disease, chlamydia and gonorrhea are the two leading causes of preventable infertility. The grammar big abi, fertility, they say make person no fit born, but we say they fit prevent. That's the leading cause of it. Now, if there's misinformation about such a thing, you see how it can affect reproduction and fertility issues. And this condition can lead to serious complications. That's why you need information, correct information about your reproductive health, woman and man things. But now, before we have special experts are going to tell us. We have an IVF, a fertility expert rather, that's going to talk to us about how misinformation and fake news can affect reproductive health. Some people believe that there are some things that you can do. Maybe too much sugar, it affects man back, it affects performance. Shey na true. They are as soon as if you drink soft drink too much, the semen go there, watch you go there. Is it true? All this fake news too plenty. We believe so many things that are not. On this episode, we're talking about it. Medical expert is here. Before the medical expert come, Mo go on the streets. What are people saying on the street? Oh, Mo check them out. Follow me. No be only me go see them on the streets. Oh yeah, now let's go.
It is what the man gives that the woman will bring out. We know the X and Y chromosomes. The ladies have the XX, while the man has the man will either produce the XX that will result to a female child, or XY that will result to a male child. So it is from the man. So it is not. It has nothing to do with the ladies in that case.
I know it's not. I know it's not anybody's fault. It doesn't belong. It's neither the man or the woman.
Me, my wife born girls. I no get man. So I no even give fault to anybody. I know say na God dey give that one. You understand? I get 6 children, all of them girls. 6. So I no blame her, I no blame myself.
Matter deal. You hear wetin people they talk on the streets? You hear am so? Wetin you think? You believe them? You agree with them? You see, as science, all this information we just share, they send it in WhatsApp group. They forward it on Facebook or your internet. You need to verify. That's why we went on the street to listen to what Nigerians are saying and on this misinformation and disinformation on reproductive health. That's why we went there. Thank you for staying with us on Fake News Show. We've just gone to the street to hear what people are saying. Like I told you, we have a special expert on fertility who is coming to be hygienous, better information, all the misinformation that you have heard. are going to be debunking it for you here on Fake News Show. So now we're going to go to Let's Talk and talk about misinformation that affects reproduction with our experts. Let's go. Let's talk. All right, if you're just joining us, this is Fake News Show, and it's time for Let's Talk. On this show, we always bring fantastic people to talk to us about important issues. Dr. Otabo Christopher is the medical director of Alliance Hospital here in Abuja. So you're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Let's quickly go into some definitions. What is fake news?
Fake news is anything that is false with an intention to mislead the hearer or the receiver of such a news.
Okay. Do we have fake news or misinformation in medical practice or health or information like that?
Yes, fake news is present in every profession or every endeavor of humans.
What's the greatest or the most shocking? You've been practicing for how long now, actively as a surgeon?
Well, as a specialist surgeon, I've been practicing for 10 years, but as a medical doctor, I've been practicing for 21 years.
And your specialty is in?
Orthopedics and trauma surgery.
Orthopedics and trauma surgery. And so in your field, what would you say is the most shocking misinformation you've seen in orthopedics?
Well, I think, without thinking twice, I think it's the myth around the traditional bone setters intervention when people have fractures or injuries. There's this misconception from Nigerians, especially the less educated people, and so on and so forth. So it's a big challenge.
What you're saying now is that people generally are misinformed about orthopedics or orthopedic surgery or orthopedic injuries, meaning things like you break hand, you break leg, or you get head injury from Okada or anything bone related. So people believe that traditional people perform better than doctors, or that they are cheaper. Which one now?
Yeah, whatever it is that is their motivation to go there. For some, it's cost. Others, it's just myth. For many others, it's ignorance. The reason I said this, the reasons are varied, because sometimes you find educated people, graduates, even PhD holders, going to traditional bone setters. Sometimes you find rich guys who could have afforded treatment in the hospital by a specialist orthopedic surgeon. They still visit them, and so on and so forth. So it's not one factor, but based on my experience, by and large, the strongest factor why people go is financial. But they rationalize it by saying that our forefathers used this method and they did well. What I always tell them is, during our forefathers' time that they talk about, there were no ballistic missiles, there were no high-speed vehicles, there were no gunshots, there were no dangerous spots, fall from very great heights. So what they probably were dealing with was just fall in the well, and minor things. And they didn't even have documented good results. So it's not about, for some people who visit the traditional bone setters, their bones will join or it will unite. But how would it unite? That's the thing. Because even if you don't go anywhere, after a fracture and you go home, as long as you stay in one place, your bone will unite. That's a natural process. But how would it unite? What would be the outcome, functional outcome? Some people, after treatment, their leg will be facing one direction, their body will be facing the other direction. That's not a good outcome. And then sometimes they tie the splint so tight, and they don't even know what they are treating, because no X-rays, no CT scan, no MRI. Even if they did, they can't interpret it. And then when the blood vessels are cut off, then the hand becomes gangrenous. Of course, naturally, you have to take off that arm by amputation. So it's a big challenge, and we need to regulate those guys' activities, and the government needs to rise up to this occasion.
But as a medical professional, let's look at a broader angle of what misinformation we have in the society. is it fake news that if you wake up in the morning, the first piss when you piss, that first urine is good for the body? It can flush out all this thing. And if you use it to wash your eye will become clear if your eye is looking balabala somehow. The first urine or the conk one.
Well, that's fake news.
Why?
It's misleading. There's no research that supports that. And besides, it's even risky.
Okay.
Because the urine contains harmful substance. That's why it's called waste. Do you drink waste? Urine is waste. It's what the body does not desire that is filtered through the urine, and then is supposed to be discarded. It contains all sorts of things, ammonia, sometimes it contains bacteria, and so on and so forth. So drinking it again, you are loading your system with toxins. You stand the risk of getting infection, and you're simply compromising your health. So that's false. I can tell you that for free, that people should disregard things like that. The issue of female genital mutilation being a reason why women would not be promiscuous is fake news. Yes. There's no evidence that supports that when when a female is circumcised, the woman will not be promiscuous. It's false. Yes. And so these people, the people who do this, they are trying to give reason to perpetrate that heinous action.
What's the medical reason why it's false? Is the clitoris not the place of pleasure? If they cut it, then the woman is safe.
Yes, if the clitoris is taken out, in fact, the opposite should happen. Yeah, because the woman is derived of the opportunity to attain the height of sexual pleasure. So the tendency is for her to keep exploring until she gets that satisfaction. That can make her even go around. So to say that if you take out the clitoris, it will tame sexual promiscuity, that's big false.
What about HIV/AIDS, sleeping with virgin?
And besides, female genital mutilation has a lot of sequelae, very terrible side effects. Yes, it can lead to so many complications. Synechia can lead to infection. Girls can bleed to death, depending on the age at which that is done. So it must be condemned totally.
What about HIV/AIDS and the myth around it, that if you eat certain things, you might not catch it, or if you sleep with a virgin?
Yeah, a lot of people go with that misconception that if you sleep with a virgin, you will not contract HIV, and so they do all sorts of sexual manipulation.
Can you be cured?
Yes, that if people believe that if a man has HIV and he sleeps with a young virgin, that could lead to cure. That's a big false. It's fake news. It will never happen. Some people also think when they want to have sexual exposure with someone they don't trust, as it were, they tend to get to the pharmacy or chemist and buy a few combination of capsules, Ampiclox and what have you. They just mix it and take it in the hope that it will prevent contracting sexually transmitted disease and HIV. That's a very bad practice. In fact, the people will still contract the disease if the lady is having the disease. So that practice does not help anybody, and people should stop it. The only certain prevention in that wise is to use a condom and use it well. Make sure it is well applied and it's not broken. If it is broken, you are still not safe. But to take some pills like Ampiclox and what have you, in the hope that it will help prevent contracting disease from a lady that one is going to sleep with, that's a big force.
Dr. Otabo Christopher is still with us. He's the medical director of Alliance Hospital here in Abuja. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Not go anywhere.
1, 2, 3. Now I can send these stories to my brother. He must share it with my mother.
What are you sending to your aged mother?
Come and read. I found these stories on the internet.
Wait, did you verify these stories to be sure they are facts?
Verify? Why?
Have you not heard that it is important for you to always verify stories by doing these 5 before sharing them?
5 things? That's too much for just one story.
First, check the headline if it's sensational. Check the news sites that publish it to ensure it's credible. You double check to make sure the same piece has been published by other credible media organizations.
Oh, really?
Yes, check the dates the story was published, and finally, seek experts' opinion and possibly advice on the report.
Wow. I'll quickly verify these by checking the headline, date, source, and seek experts' opinion before I forward them to my brother and mother.
This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. You should only share information from credible sources.
Actually, not believe fake news.
Yes, fake news is something that is not genuine.
Welcome back, guys. It's Fake News Show, and on this segment of Let's Talk, we have been talking to who?
A very special guest today, an erudite scholar, a professional to the core in the medical field, Dr. Otabo Christopher. He's the medical director of Alliance Hospital here in Abuja. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and we've been talking about fake news, the effects on our health. Can a girl ever be too young to get pregnant?
Yeah, a girl can be too young to get pregnant, but we've recorded pregnancies for children of 9 years or less. But the safe age for pregnancy should be 18 years and above, when the pelvis is wide enough and the body system is matured enough to be able to handle the pregnancy and give birth safely. Otherwise, one would see a lot of complications from a child carrying a child.
So the belief or the information or the news that if a girl can be slept with, she can give birth successfully is not true.
No, anybody can be slept with. I mean, we have a lot of deranged men who sleep with 3 years olds and so on and so forth. And does that mean that a 3 years old child is ripe to conceive and give birth? No, that's child abuse. 18 years is the ripe age for a girl to turn to an adult, and that's when we should encourage pregnancy. Even though in Nigeria, especially in the northern part of the country, we see people getting married at less than 18 and even giving birth. But that's also why you have a lot of VVF, vesical vaginal fistula, coming up in that part of the country, because they are not ready to receive babies yet, even though they can get pregnant. And many of them do give birth, but the complication rate is higher.
If you throw your baby up very well, when after birth, they say the baby will get boldness, it will strong.
Well, it's just to test the reflexes of the baby. Throwing the baby up is an exercise, but it doesn't change the personality of the baby.
Does it pose any danger?
Not really. Just make sure that the baby has enough support so that it doesn't drop from your hand. Because some people also think that tying the bead around the waist for female now, that it confers some protection against sexually transmitted diseases and harm. Well, that's not medically proven, and in terms of prevention of sexually transmitted disease, that's a bad practice. You still have to observe all the rules of prevention. Stay faithful to one partner and use condom well at any time of sexual exposure.
If somebody swallow HIV/AIDS, can he get infected? Maybe food eaten by somebody, or somebody that has HIV/AIDS spit in your food.
Well, it's not expected for you to take in food that someone else has spat on. But the main method of transmission of HIV is through sexual contact and sharing of sharp objects, whereby there is direct contact with the blood. Yes.
But is there any passage through which HIV can follow the tongue and the stomach and infect you?
Yeah, except if someone has sore, if an infected person who is not taking his medication has mouth sores and there's exchange of saliva, yes, there's that possibility that one can become infected with the virus.
If you go to the bathroom and wash off immediately after you think of, you can wash the HIV out.
To go to the bathroom and wash immediately after a sexual intercourse does not in any way prevent infection. Yes, so because it's not, the transmission of the disease is not an outward thing, it's an inward thing. So all those practices, they don't in any way prevent contraction of HIV or other sexually transmitted diseases.
Is it possible to clone a human being? You know, the president. It's not me that said it. They say it was cloned. So I don't know the one that is there now. Maybe we have different copies that we're just taking one by one.
The issue of cloning Mr. President is completely unscientific. It's outside the realm of good reasoning, and it didn't happen. I can tell you that for sure. Where would you get a new 70-something years old man from? It's not. It doesn't make sense medically.
I've been talking to Dr. Otabor Christopher. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't go anywhere. We have lots more for you after this. More fake news to bust. Don't go anywhere.
Are you recording? Hello, hi. They say some people are spreading fake news all around. Some of you receive a WhatsApp blockers message. Before you know, you have returned it. You did not verify information. Some people even put it on blog. Spreading fake news. You think it's right? That's what you are doing. No, you think that thing as you are spreading the fake news, you think you are doing right thing. Stop spreading it. You should stop it. Resist that temptation that will make you spread fake news. You verify information before you post it. Rubbish. Cut. I need you cut. Cut the video now. What happened? Am I not the one to do it? I said I finished. Not cut.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Fake News Show. We just had a chat with our fertility expert on misinformation and disinformation or fake news around reproductive health. Man and woman's reproduction or all those fake news, about reproductive health. It can cause a lot of problems. That's why it's important to talk about it. If you are misinformed, you can be deformed. So now, we're now going to show you or debunk some fake news or misinformation about health in this report. Cajad yourself or open eye down, open your ear, or call your neighbor, call your friend, even call your enemy, join. Fake news that want to debunk, it affects you. Check it out one by one.
CDD Fact Check Report. Fake News Alert.
Has WHO finally approved Madagascar's COVID-19 organics? Fact checkers at the CDD can confirm that WHO has not approved Madagascar's COVID-19 organics as a cure for coronavirus. CDD urges members of the public to read beyond headlines before sharing any news reports.
CDD Fact Check Report. Fake News Alert.
Is President Buhari the most followed African leader on Twitter? The claim that President Buhari is the most followed leader in Africa on Twitter is false. CDD fact checkers can confirm that Egyptian president Al-Sisi official is the most African leader on Twitter with 4,133,263 followers as at the 10th of July 23rd, 2020.
Actually, not the fake news.
Yes, fake news is something that is not genuine.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this show of Fake News. We have told you how reproductive health is affected by misinformation and disinformation. On behalf of the entire team, when package this show can't give you. This show is an initiative of CDD West Africa with the support of USAID and NDI. And I want to thank you for staying with us. Next week, we have another better episode. We want to summer you. Not go anywhere. Tell your friend about this. Tweet it, send us a message. Thank you for watching Fake News Show.
Fake News Show is an initiative of Center for Democracy and Development with support from USAID through the National Democratic Institute.